Hey, Joe Walsh here. Bill, Hillary Clinton, stay on TV. I want you on TV every single day. I'll explain when freedom returns at 5.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So President Trump, last week's jobs report, tweeted out best economy, best jobs report, or job climate ever.
It tweeted broke protocol because the job numbers were out yet.
Oh, yeah, he jumped the gun, too.
Yeah.
But it's the
I
best
wasn't
ever.
offended by that. I mean, whatever.
Yeah. He got the, well, I mean, I guess there's conspiracy theories about what he's somehow trading on insider information because he got the
jobs
BLS report
first?
before, the BLS BS report
He is
before.
president. I don't know.
So here's the thing: the best economy ever is what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get beyond the report and the surrounding conspiracy theories, Jim Pethokoukis, our friend at American Enterprise Institute, is risking being uninvited from the White House by disagreeing. Jim joins us now. Jim, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the uninvitation's already happened, but I'll do my best.
We'll just call you the Eagles.
You have a standing uninvitation, is what you're saying.
I believe it's standing and permanent.
Why is Trump wrong to say best economy ever? By what measure is he wrong?
Kind of by just about any measure. Look, if you we went back to 2010 and you looked at a chart of job growth, if you looked at a chart of economic growth, you would not say, oh, there's where Trump became president. It's been pretty steady, since the Obama administration, since the economy really covered as the Great Recession. Listen, the economy is growing about what it did, 2%-ish. That's not great. That's slower than it has since World War II, the average. Unemployment is low. It's been lower. It could go lower. That would be fantastic. This has been a very, very long expansion. But if you compare like this economy to the 90s, where you had 4 and 5% growth, very low unemployment, and most importantly, the single most important economic statistic is productivity. How productive workers are. That boom. That is really why we had a 1990s boom. That is dead in the water currently, and we will not be able to sustain this growth, and we will not have sharply higher wages unless that improves. And right now, that's going nowhere.
But but the worker productivity is a good point, and I think probably an underappreciated one.
It's the most important point.
No,
I
know.
Call this economy the best ever. It is the number one economic statistic that drives living standards that make sure our kids have a better life than us. That needs to improve.
No, I can see that point. And as I was saying, it's an underappreciated point when we talk about all the data that measures how good we're doing. Is not a lot of people focus on worker productivity, and that's an appropriate focus. However, I would just say in terms of Trump's policies, forget this, the puffery of best economy ever and so forth. But I mean, reducing the corporate and personal income tax rates. Another underappreciated thing that's occurred in his time is the deregulation. You have a slight but nevertheless real reduction in federal headcount, so sort of size and scope and expense of government. I mean, those are positives, are they not?
Listen, it's tough to talk about the size and scope of government if you got some guy at the Commerce Department going through a spreadsheet saying we're going to put a tariff on this one, we're not going to put a tariff on that one. That is size and scope of government. Listen, I like tax cuts. I'm glad we got that corporate rate down. That is a very good long-term policy goal. We should not. What it's supposed to do is boost worker productivity. That's over the long term. Anything that happens really now and over the next year or so is good old-fashioned Keynesian stimulus, juicing the economy sugar high. That's what Republicans criticized Obama for. That's what we're doing right now with a deficit-financed tax cut. So listen, all these Wall Street banks, they think the economy should jump this year and next year. Hey, that's great, but that's not because of Republican economics. That's the kind of stuff that we criticized Obama for. It may eventually boost productivity, but that should be down the line. Anything you see right now, it's exactly the kind of thing Republicans hate. It's sugar economics.
Yeah, agreed. Now, I am going to pull rank on you, though.
Uh-oh.
All right.
Here we go.
You ready? Larry Kudlow. I'm pulling rank. Larry Kudlow suggesting, number one, Justin Trudeau shouldn't be running around with his hair on fire for a little tariff. Number two, that the tariffs, though he is not a tariff, which is a tax guy, of course, he's a free trader, but it's still, according to Larry, it's still a lever for a medium-term growth play to reduce barriers across the board, whether it's NAFTA or our Chinese trading partners. Is Larry right? Is Larry right to be so optimistic?
No, listen. That's a fantasy. That all of a sudden, that all these tariffs, it's all going to lead to this kind of like free trade nirvana. Far more likely, it's going to lead to the breakdown of the global trading system. That's what other people in that administration, like Peter Navarro, want. They don't like globalization. They don't like these global supply chains. They want to bring us back to about the 1950s. That is not the direction we're heading. And Larry can say what he wants, but listen, I think that's a fantasy, and there's no evidence that's working, and there's been no evidence that Trump's been able to strike like better deals. We just did this agreement with South Korea. We got nothing out of it other than like the distrust of a key ally.
So would you say that the troika of Ross, Lighthizer, and Navarro sort of the biggest threat to growth-oriented policies coming from the Trump administration? I mean, in addition to the president himself subscribing to it. Listen,
I'm not going to call them an axis of evil because they're not evil, but it's kind of an axis of dopiness. It's completely the wrong direction. It's tough to find an economist who agrees with it. Right now it's tough to find a businessman agree with it. Even the steelworkers union don't like these tariffs. This is really keyed off the idiosyncratic outlying views of Wilbur Ross, Navarro, and the president, whose views on this haven't changed for 40 years, which means they've been wrong for 40 years.
Well, what do you think is going to happen at the G7 summit in Quebec? I mean, do you think they're going to get through to?
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of nice
think they're going to get
brunches.
through to President Trump?
No, listen. I know that people like Larry Kudlow and Steve Moore, who you probably had on the show, they've explained all this with trade to Kudlow, to the president repeatedly. It has not sunk in. Our problem is not trade deficits. To the extent we have a trade problem, it's that we have China, which is on this kind of like tech war against America, stealing our intellectual property and stealing technology, and these sort of state-run businesses supported by their government. That's the problem. It's not cars or sorghum or any of this stuff, and that's not what we're focused on. And again, utterly the wrong direction. Thank goodness that we still have this expansion, which has been in place since 2009, won't last forever, and nothing we're doing right now, with perhaps the exception of the big corporate tax rate cut, is helping that.
Yeah, but the problem, too, just as that sort of exacerbates this dynamic you're describing, is you talk about the G7 summit. He's not going there. It's not a Milton Friedman society. He's going there to talk to a bunch of socialists about trade policy. I mean, this is the tit-for-tat crowd.
Well, listen. If you're looking for sort of the big government, kind of like left-wing trade policy, listen. If you look at Trump's trade policy and what our trade policy would be like if Bernie Sanders was president, you could not find a difference. We have the Bernie Sanders trade policy that somehow we managed to get to the left of all these European countries. It's really amazing.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for the pick-me-up, Jim.
Can I
ask you? Lower corporate tax rate, Dan and Amy. Go lower corporate tax rate.
All right.
And real quick question. I mean, I know I love these tax cuts, but I feel like I'm pouring that extra savings into my gas tank. Any relief anytime soon?
Do they have the scooters yet in Chicago, like they do in San Francisco? We tried the scooter.
Yeah.
Okay, or the divvy bike. Okay.
The solar-powered scooter. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Solar-powered. Perfect combo.
Jim Pethokoukis, CNBC contributor and columnist for the American Enterprise Institute. Jim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Jimmy P. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.